What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to the Crypto Catch Up. Of course, your number one place to catch up on crypto. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at some Bitcoin news that we've gotten recently, some things that have been happening over the last 24 to 48 hours because things are heating up and the tide is shifting. And so with that said, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's catch up on crypto, my friends. And don't forget, if you do want to trade some Bitcoin yourself on up to 100x leverage without needing the KYC, meaning you don't give them any of your personal information, but you can get up to $10,000 in bonuses and rewards, make sure you do check out that Margex link down in the description below. It is the exchange that I do the most trading for Bitcoin on myself, and I like it a lot because I can use multiple different forms of collateral, which makes it super easy. So feel free to go check that out if you'd like to. Now, today we're going to break this video up talking about a couple of different things, okay? First and foremost, we're going to talk about the news, then we're going to talk a little bit about what's happening with the actual price itself, and then we'll dive a little bit more into what's happening from a back-end perspective with your fundamental metrics. Now, piece of news number one, the tide is shifting, boys. Bitcoin ETFs saw $254 million worth of inflows yesterday, the highest in 2 weeks. Of course, you guys know it seemed like as if the ETFs and some of your institutional players were sitting back a little bit, right? They were maybe trying to gauge where they thought this market was going. Maybe they were trying to gauge how this market was going to react to certain things, such as what's happening with Israel. Obviously, we had the port strikes. We obviously have presidential stuff every single day, right? So maybe it seemed like they were kind of sitting back, waiting and watching to see how that impacted things, and they seemed to be happy with how that went, of course, by jumping back in with 254 million, $250 million in inflows just yesterday. Now, in addition to this news, we've been seeing a ton of MicroStrategy news. Okay, let's just go to the bottom. Just then, MicroStrategy stock did over 6.27 billion in trading volume today, which is absolutely nuts. Now, with this, and of course, because of this volume and this uptick that they've gotten recently, we are actually starting to see that they are just shy, less than 3% away from overtaking Coinbase's stock price. And it's hard to argue, as Bitcoin's value not only grows from a price perspective, but intrinsically, MicroStrategy stock should, in turn, grow as well. And that's what we're seeing. Now, one cool thing that we did also see today, which is crazy, MicroStrategy broke a record Bitcoin era price of $212.81 yesterday. Another 57% in MicroStrategy would break its .com bubble all-time high, which is absolutely insane to think about. The high that they got to during the .com bubble from taking a similar approach is where we're over halfway there. Think about how insane that is. Now, understand, times are different. Things change. They have a reputation. They have credibility. They have all of these things, and they have underlying assets now. So they have these things, but just the thought of that, with how nuts the .com era was, the fact that they're getting that close, absolutely nuts. Now, why is this happening? Well, I mean, just look at how it's performed ever since it adopted its Bitcoin strategy in August 10th of 2020. 1,620% in gains since then. Now, putting that in comparison, Bitcoin only up 426% since then. The Magnificent Seven up a nice 243%. The S&P up 73%, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong, it is not bad. But at the end of the day, none of this is competing with MicroStrategy. You look at this, the percentage of S&P companies outperformed 100%. There's not one company in the S&P 500 since August 10th of 2020 that has outperformed MicroStrategy, which is the reason why we're seeing this, which is the reason why it's pushing up, which is the reason why it's going to overtake Coinbase, which is the reason why it's getting billions of dollars in volume. Now, is it in a bubble? Who knows? I don't know personally. But what I do know is that they are absolutely smashing it. And this type of shit right here brings so much attention to crypto and opens up so many more doors, just like the ETFs do. Absolutely massive news. Now, as a result of this news, what's happening? Okay, as a result of this news, how is the market moving? Let's get into our fundamentals. What we can see here, let's actually start off with some of our outsourced or our outside sources. Crypto Fear and Greed Index still sitting at a 49. We dipped into fear yesterday, which is weird. Yeah, we had 1 day where 2 days where we dipped into fear. A little bit weird. I told you guys I thought that was a little irrational. I just wasn't quite sure why that was happening. I mean, you look at Bitcoin's price just yesterday, nothing really happened. Let's go all the way down to the 4 hours. Nothing really happened in the grand scheme of things. I guess there was this little dip, over 2 days that freaked people out, but I didn't freak out. I didn't really care. I was like, we're just in a descending channel. Of course, we're going to dip a little bit. So people got a little scared, but we are back to neutral. That was a big jump, so I will issue a little bit of a warning. Although from a macro sense, things are getting more bullish. ETFs are flowing well. MicroStrategy flowing well. The news has been good. Things have been good. We are getting a little bit herky-jerky, right? Like we're starting to see this market get a little bit quick emotion, and that's never really a good sign. So seeing it go from a 32 to a 49 in the course of 24 hours is a little concerning. I would pay attention to this over the next 24 to 48, maybe into Monday, because if we do shoot into greed, you might want to start expecting some type of short-term pullback, because not only are we seeing this crypto fear and greed index going nuts, we're also seeing liquidations jumping like crazy. Just yesterday, we saw a substantially higher amount of liquidations that would happen if this market went up than if it went down. Now it's flipped already. Substantially more liquidations will happen if this market pulls to the downside, not only just on the 1 day, but also now on the 7 day as well. And if you look at the 30 day, it's chasing it. We saw the 30 day bullish liquidations were way up here, bearish liquidations were way down here, and now we're starting to see that, you know what I mean, bullish, bearish, whatever, price go up, price go down. But more liquidations over the last couple of days would have happened if this market went to the upside, and now it's starting to even out a little bit. And so because I'm seeing those 1 day and the 7 day starting to spike up in the amount of bulls that will get liquidated if this market goes down, I definitely would be like, okay, listen, things are great. Things are good. The tide is shifting. We're all happy. We're all excited. Be careful, though, because in moments like these, it's not shocking when you see these little micro pullbacks, especially when we're in this type of structure, which I will talk about in a little while. So overall, I think things are good. Don't get me wrong. And I do think from a macro sense, I'm not concerned about this. I do know, though, in the short term, we got to be a little bit cautious. Now, from a more macro perspective, if we go out to our liquidation heat maps, there are still a substantial amount of liquidations that will happen if this market moves upwards, okay? If you just quite simply look at what will happen up here, we have all these liquidations around 66, all these around 70, 69, 70, 73, and these are the type of liquidation patterns that will cause short squeezes. These are the type of liquidation patterns that will force this price up, and it will just go absolutely fucking nuts out of nowhere, shooting straight up to 72, 73K to not give these people enough time to close their trades. They don't want them to close their trades. They want to liquidate them, because that's how the lizard people take your money, okay? And so because of that, sometimes you see these big things just happen to boom, 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 and they shoot straight up. And so because of that, as long as there's a substantial amount of liquidations to the upside like we're seeing right here, I am still incredibly confident that we will see this market push upwards. And so because of that, again, macro sense, not worried. Micro sense, I am getting a little bit more concerned that we may see some sort of short-term pullback. Now, speaking of Bitcoin's price from that perspective, what does that entail? Well, overall, again, I still do believe that from a macro perspective, we are going to see Bitcoin inevitably break out of this descending structure that it's been in ever since March of this year, right? I do think that it should, at some given point, make a move like yay, right? Where we get to the top side of it. And even if we consolidate on top of it or whatever it may be, I do think we are going to see Bitcoin break it, maybe make a move like that. Who knows? Who cares? But I do think we're going to get up here. But in the short term, again, it might not be so simple. And we might start to see things happening that could get a little bit weird, a little bit concerning, a little bit worrying, whatever, right? I'd say the best case scenario that happens here is that Bitcoin's price does use this descending channel to work its way back up to the top side, somewhere between $68,000 and $70,000, and go for your breakout, right? Another chance and another thing that very well could happen is that Bitcoin breaks out of here, kind of consolidates down a little bit, or, you know, one of the two, right? Break out here or pull back and then break out here, consolidate a little bit, lose support on this ascending structure, come back down to its bounce zone, then use the bounce zone to then bounce back to the upside and start chasing a breakout more towards December or November. That is a card that is on the table. And of course, when we see liquidations jumping up to the downside, you have to be aware that that's possible. And so again, in the short term, I have no idea. I'm just guessing. I'm just telling you what could happen, but take it with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, I still think it's important to be looking at this from a macro sense and paying attention to what's happening in the grand scheme of things. And in the grand scheme of things, I do expect that no matter if it's like this, no matter if it's like this, no matter if it's like this, whatever, I do think we're going to get this breakout here. It's just making sure we take the right steps and the right precautions to get here. Do not lose your freaking positions in this when this might happen. That's stupid. Like, I try to be a little bit nice sometimes here on the channel, but it's stupid. If you're taking too big of risk in your portfolio right now that you can get liquidated while we're in this channel, you're going to be so pissed off at yourself if this thing breaks out to the upside, because all you needed to do was just watch. Just sit back and watch. But you got antsy, you got bored, and you took a risk for no reason, and you lost for no reason at all. Just watch, just wait, okay? And so because of that, if this is the case, and if we are going to get a breakout here, which I do expect, again, because of liquidations and because of what we are seeing, the majority of what I am doing is sitting back and watching. I'll do a little trade here and there for the shits and giggles. If we come back down and lose support, I might open a little tiny short trade, expecting a push back to your liquidity zone, to your bounce zone. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing a lot because I am sitting back waiting and watching because of what we are seeing from a fundamental fundamental perspective and because of all of these developments that are happening from more of a macro perspective with the news, fundamentals, etc. And so don't forget, guys, if you do want to do some trading yourself, although I don't recommend high leverage trading right now, you can still do some small leverage trading and things like that over on Margex, again, without needing to KYC, without giving them your personal information. So feel free to check that out down below. But of course, you guys know I like to keep you as updated as possible here and as caught up on crypto as possible. So if you do feel more caught up today, all you got to do, like the video so more people see it, and subscribe to the channel, guys. We are aiming for 1,500 subscribers by November. We're on October 12th, so we should be on track to get there. So if you could join the journey, I know 40% of you who watch these vids aren't subscribed, so if you could, that'd be amazing. I appreciate you. I can't wait to see you all next time. Peace out, everybody.